I'm Pastor Weston Walker at Grace and Mercy Lutheran Church, Hermiston, Oregon, continuing our discussion on Luther's Small Catechism. Today we'll wrap up his treatment of the 10 Commandments, or the 10 words. The fifth commandment, as he numbers them, you shall not murder. Sometimes that's been translated, you shall not kill, but murder gets the sense more. This has to do with killing outside of God's law, outside of what would be acceptable. You shall not murder. And again, Luther focuses, as he begins all of his answers, we are to fear and love God. That's the explanation to each of these commands. That's how each of these explanations begin. We are to fear and love God. Here we're talking about, beginning in these commands, how we relate to other people. But still, Luther focuses these answers on we are to fear and love God, which takes us back to the first commandment, you shall have no other gods. We are to fear and love God. And then he continues, so that we neither endanger nor harm the lives of our neighbors, but instead help and support them in all of life's needs. You see, for Luther, it's not simply enough to just not murder. We need to do more than that. We need to not harm. We need to help and support others in all of life's needs. You may recognize some teaching of Jesus in this. The sixth commandment, you shall not commit adultery. Luther's explanation, we are to fear and love God so that we lead pure and decent lives in word and deed, and each of us loves and honors his or her spouse. Lead pure and decent lives. It's not enough to just not commit adultery. We must do more than that. Lead pure and decent lives, love and honoring our spouses. The seventh commandment, you shall not steal. And that's one that we might say, not a big deal. I'm not in the habit of stealing. I don't go around stealing things from people. But Luther makes us look a little more deeply at that. What is this, or what does it mean? We are to fear and love God so that we neither take our neighbor's money or property, nor acquire them by using shoddy merchandise or crooked deals, but instead help them to improve and protect their property and income. So again, how we relate to others, it begins with we fear and love God. It's our fear and loving God and having no other God before us that is the motivation for how we treat our neighbors. And it's not enough simply to not steal, but we don't want to cheat them in other ways, using shoddy merchandise or crooked deals. And even more than that, we want to help them and help them improve and protect their property and income in all sorts of ways. The eighth commandment, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. What is this, or what does it mean? Luther says we are to fear and love God so that we do not tell lies about our neighbors, betray or slander them, or destroy their reputations. Instead, we are to come to their defense, speak well of them, and interpret everything they do in the best possible light. Again, it's not enough to simply not say something false against your neighbor. But more than that, we do not betray or slander or destroy reputations. We come to the defense of others. We speak well of others. We interpret everything in the best light possible. The ninth commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. What is this, or what does it mean? We are to fear and love God so that we do not try to trick our neighbors out of their inheritance or property, or try to get it for ourselves by claiming to have a legal right to it and the like, but instead be of help and service to them in keeping what is theirs. So it's not enough to simply keep from coveting your neighbor's house, taking it, but we want what's the best for our neighbor. We want to help them in any way we can. And the 10th commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife or male or female slave or ox or donkey or anything that belongs to your neighbor. What is this, or what does it mean? We are to fear and love God so that we do not entice, force, or steal away from our neighbors their spouses, household workers, or livestock, but instead urge them to stay and fulfill their responsibilities to our neighbors. God's will has never changed for his people. God's will has remained the same, that we love God, and because of our love for God and our appreciation for the salvation that God has given us, that we respond appropriately to the other creatures of God, that we treat others right, that we treat them indeed as they are created in the image of God. And the way Luther deals with the Ten Commandments is in a very, very high way. It's not simply do these 10 things or don't do these things, but it's more than that. It's much in line with the teaching of Jesus that there's much that lies behind and beneath these commandments. And at the heart of them, it has to do with loving God and loving our neighbors.